We arrive in Basque country at Bilbao International Airport. Bilbao as a town dates to the early 14th century. For hundreds of years, it was a center for iron ore mining and iron smelting. St. Anton's Church was built at the end of the 15th century. St. Nicholas Church dates from 1756. Many of Bilbao's buildings date to the turn of the 19th century, when the iron business was booming. By 1900, Bilbao was Spain's largest port. Shipyards and steel mills covered the riverbanks. But by the 1980s, industries could not compete with Asian steel and shipbuilders. The mills and shipyards were abandoned. Since the mid-1990s, Bilbao has been deindustrializing and transitioning to a service economy. The city fathers, thinking out of the box, decided to replace the decrepit port facility with an iconic art museum to draw tourists to the city. And it worked. In just its first 3 years, almost 4 million tourists visited the museum. Now, Bilbao effect refers to the way that the museum transformed the city. Where the Joalduna shipyard once stood, the Joalduna Conference Center and Concert Hall opened in 1999. The Zubiardi Shopping Center opened in 2004. The Iberdrola Tower, an office building, opened in 2012. It's the tallest building in Basque country. A new football stadium opened in 2013. While it looks vintage, the Art Class building is a huge apartment complex that opened in 2011. To handle the influx of tourists, boutique hotels have opened. New public art's been installed. So let's see what the Guggenheim Bilbao is all about. The first thing is the daring Frank Gehry designed building, covered in titanium sheeting. The curves of the exterior are intended to appear random, but are designed to catch the light. The next thing are the massive sculptures installed around the building. The interior is designed around a light-filled atrium that Gehry nicknamed the Flower because of its shape. Our next stop is San Sebastian, about 60 miles through green farmland along the coast. We check into the Hotel Maria Christina. The hotel is named after Queen Maria Christina of Spain. Starting in 1885, she and her court spent the summers in San Sebastian, and it became the playground for the rich and famous. The hotel opened in 1912, and you can almost believe you're back in that time. Dinner tonight is at Juanito Cujoa, Little John with a Limp, one of the oldest restaurants in San Sebastian. We had exquisite Iberian ham served on a wine barrel stave, and a delicious paella. We left some of the entrees swimming in the tank. This morning, we're going to learn about Basque cooking, but first we need some ingredients. Everything looks so good at the farmer's market. We don't need any beef today. We're here for some seafood. There's quite a variety, and I'll bet it was swimming yesterday. Maybe some local cheeses. Oh, and definitely some of that wonderful ham. And some olives. So many kinds and so many flavors. The same goes for the olive oil. The narrow streets are still empty this morning. The few shops that are open are selling produce. This nondescript building hanging on the hillside is our destination. The Basque Brotherhood of Gastronomy, one of many gastronomic societies in Basque country. These societies were established for men to cook and socialize away from the traditionally formidable matriarchs. Ordinarily, women are not allowed in the kitchen, but since this is a cooking class for tourists, we have special dispensation. We add our purchases to the ingredients. The lobsters don't look happy. The chef puts us right to work.
No, se recoge.
Yeah, that's pretty.
¿Qué me has cogido?
Let the skin up.
Toma. Una de propina para ti. Me la había robado.
The chef gives us the recipe for the next dish.
Entonces, tiene diferentes denominaciones según le vayamos añadiendo algún ingrediente más.
It is called, in different ways according to the ingredients that you add. Remember I said, maybe we can add some peas, we can add some asparagus. So it has a name, no?
La base es
But the base
ajo,
is garlic,
aceite
olive oil,
y un líquido.
and a liquid.
Líquido que puede ser el que suelte la merluza
It could be the one coming out from the fish,
o se le ayuda un poco con vino blanco,
or maybe we
con
help
sidra,
with a little
con
bit
chacolí,
of
con lo que
chocolate,
queramos.
cider, white wine, or a broth. Sometimes people add fish broth.
Entonces,
The more wine we drink, the better everything looks. We leave the flambeing to the pros. Our dessert is out of the oven, a puff pastry filled with vanilla cream. It's time to cook the lobster. Now it's time to do what we do best, eat. The napkins are monogrammed with the symbol of the society, an artichoke flower. We start with the lobster and rice. It's delicious. Then the hake with clams and peas. Very good. We have the rest of the afternoon to work off those calories. Walking the narrow streets of Old Town is a very pleasant way to get our exercise. I'm sure not hungry, but doesn't that white asparagus look good? In the middle of Old Town is Constitution Square. The old City Hall is now the main library. On three sides of the square are apartments. Each balcony has a number, a reminder of the days when bullfights were held in the square and the city sold tickets to the balconies. The Basilica of St. Mary of Coro was completed in 1774. It's being used to frame contemporary art. Old Town is at the foot of Mount Urgel. Since 1952, the statue of the Sacred Heart of Jesus has stood at its summit. Zumardia Boulevard is the leafy main street where the city's defensive walls once stood. The casino was the place to be in the Belle Epoque. It was built in 1887. It fell on hard times in 1924 when gambling was outlawed. It's been the City Hall since 1945. A vintage carousel takes us back to a different time. La Concha Promenade on the beach side looks just like it did 100 years ago. Some very expensive apartments line the other side. Miramar Palace was built in 1893 for Queen Maria Christina's summer palace. We're driving out to the western end of La Concha Bay and then up to the top of Mount Iguela. The Comb of the Wind consists of three monumental steel sculptures at the west end of the bay. The installation of Eduard Chalido's sculptures was completed in 1976. The best view of La Concha Bay is from the top of Mount Iguela. Iguela Tower was built as a lighthouse in 1778. But it was too high to penetrate fog, so this lower lighthouse replaced it in 1912. We're welcomed to Miramar Palace by the Joalduna. These strange characters warn of the arrival of carnival and also protect cattle and drive evil spirits away to assure a good harvest. Wow, what a welcome. This is truly a gala, and next is an exhibition of hairy carol, which translates to rural sports. These are common at festivals in Basque Country. First, we have stone lifting. Don't try this at home.
Okay, it's not just so chill. Woo, very good.
And next is wood chopping.
We got it. One more, three more. Wow, that's very positive. Come on, Echo. There he goes. Come on. One more. Two more. Yeah. Very good. Come on, Echo. Almost there. He has it there. Apart from the balance that you have to have on that piece of wood there, he has it almost there. Very good. This kind of tradition used to be also in Switzerland, in Greece, in Hungary. But the only thing that is still they do regularly now, every you see how they go and taking out and doing.
Now we sit down to dinner, and there's more entertainment. We thought we were heading back to the hotel, and we step out of the palace to find two drum corps. San Sebastian has been occupied by armies many times. These armies like to parade through the streets with the beat of drums. The locals would mock the soldiers by chefs beating on their pans and milkmaids beating on their pails. Now, on January 20th every year, drum corps like this one celebrate by marching through San Sebastian dressed as soldiers, chefs, and milkmaids. In the morning, it's back to the airport for a really short hop from Bilbao to Porto, Portugal.